There's that American football film, Remember the Titans. I think Caden needs to remember the Titans are fucking shit. Because
Duval. Give me the Jags.
Duval. No, I'm going for the Vikings.
Going into our last two games.
Sorry, Max, cut that out. Sorry.
Hello and welcome back to Fourth Down Focus. This is episode 10 of our UK NFL podcast. I am joined with Kian, Caden, and Max, or sad Browns fan today, apparently.
Always.
You know what? Then we'll start off with you, Max. We'll go with through our team's results this week. So, the Browns.
We're going 10-7 and sneaking into the wild card. Anyone else agree? No? Okay. No, we're really shit. The Chargers put on an absolute clinic against us. We couldn't get anything going on offense, and the secondary went missing. Juan Thornhill had a terrible game. He's not been that good since he come back from IR. And I'm really glad it's our bye week, and I don't have to watch us again this week.
Kian, similar story for you, I'd imagine.
I'm genuinely not sure what you want me to say that was any different from last week. For anyone that watched last week, I had a bit of a rant about last week's performance and the coaches, and it was just the same old shit. But do you know what? I'm glad we lost, and I hope we keep losing. Although firing Luke Getsy, although it's a great decision, I'd rather we kept him to the end of the season so that we lose lots of games and get a nice quarterback.
Caden, it's a bit more positive, maybe.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed watching it. For 5 passing touchdowns, very, very impressive performance. Our playoff push continues, and we are the best team in the AFC North.
And your playoff push will also end when you lose to the Ravens on Thursday Night Football.
No, that's when the season starts.
I'm pretty much a similar boat. My hate for Daniel Jones is growing every week. It's getting to a point now where we're actually unwatchable. I'd rather keep him in at quarterback because it means we're going to lose all our games and then we're going to end up with the first pick and draft Cam Ward and save this franchise. But yeah, as sort of what you said, Kian, I don't really have much to say that I haven't said already. Our defense yet again had an all right game, and it has been overshown by our offense being absolutely terrible. And it's getting to a point now where I'm scared for the likes of Dexter Lawrence just losing his mind and just giving up with us. I don't know how he hasn't already. I would have about 4 years ago. But yeah, we're just bad. It's just the borderline. Defensively, we're absolutely fine, and I'm not concerned about that going forward. Offensively, we need a complete revamp of everything because we're terrible. We'll move on from apart from Caden, who's happy for 1 week, but he'll be mortified next week when we come back after they've lost.
No.
So other results around the NFL. The Jets, a massive win for them, taking down the Texans at MetLife. Garrett Wilson, I think, probably one of the best catches I have ever seen in my entire life. An absolute joke. I mean, I watched that game live, and I didn't think he was actually in for a touchdown. And then when he got ruled the touchdown, it sort of ruined the moment a bit because it was originally given out. But a big win for the Texans. Max, do you think it keeps their season alive, or are they still a bit dead and buried at the minute?
I still think the Jets are in trouble, but that'll give them some momentum beating a team like the Texans. The Texans are a bit all over the place at the minute. They really need to sort that offensive line because I think CJ Stroud is the most sacked quarterback in the NFL at the minute. I think I read that. So that's a problem because if he's getting put on his back, he can't do the amazing shit that he normally does. But yeah, I don't know about the Jets. It's a weird thing. Obviously, they traded away Mike Williams, which we'll get onto soon. It's a weird one. That catch was amazing, and I'm sick of hearing Kian talk about how it's not even that good. He's been doing it all week, and I'm going to let him carry on now. But he's wrong. It was a brilliant catch from an Ohio State boy as well.
Kian?
At no point did I say it wasn't a good catch. I said it wasn't in.
Well, that then.
I still don't believe that it was in.
It wasn't.
No one can show me conclusive evidence that was in.
They did on the stream.
No, it didn't. It didn't.
I'm trusting the refs over you, man.
His shin was down.
This is NFL fraud, is what I'm telling you, is what it is. Someone in the NFL has got a bet on the Texans not going to make it into the Super Bowl because they watched this and they thought, well, I don't want him to do well. So, do you know what? Bullshit. It wasn't a good catch. And the Jets were lucky that they won that game. And the Texans are going to be fine. And the Jets are going to stay shit. That's all I've got to say.
Caden?
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice win for the Jets, but I don't think the season's going to kick on. I can't see them making the playoffs. Can't see them doing any better than they have so far. But yeah, it definitely was a catch. Definitely the right call, unfortunately, for Kian, who is very angry about it.
It was a catch in college.
It was a catch. We'll leave it at that. Texans got nothing to worry about. Just a bit of a fluke win for the Jets, I think. Texans will still be fine.
See, I'm not necessarily saying the Texans are in trouble, but I'm not also saying they're absolutely fine. The offensive line is terrible. It's really bad.
And they've got the Lions this week.
Yeah, and they're making a very good quarterback look painfully average in the last couple of games. There's another game now where he's not showing up, and it's not his fault. It's just because he's getting pressured basically every play, sacked basically every drive at least once. You know, you can't let him do it. And as far as the Jets go, I don't know what it was, but they looked like a different team in that game. It wasn't the most comfortable win, but I mean, I watched the whole game, and I don't know, there was just more consistency. Rodgers looked a bit more connected with his receivers than he has done in the last couple of games. Devontae's sort of getting up to speed already now. So I think if they win this week, which I think they might, it puts them to 4-5, and they've got an outside chance of that playoff spot because there's so many bad teams this year who are on good records that are going to start falling away, which gives room for the Jets if they start winning games to sort of pick up and move up. So I would say their season might kick on, but I could see them maybe moving up the rankings a bit in the next couple of weeks, depending on their results, because I know they've got quite a difficult schedule. But we'll move on to another team in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills. Tyler Bass had a 61-yarder, I believe it was, to win the game for the Bills. So although Miami looked a lot better, Kian, is that probably the dagger which kills their season off for good now?
Yes and no. I think it's really hard to come back from this deficit they're in now. But, you know, we've seen stranger things happen. Their next game, I can't remember who it is. After that, they've got us.
Rams.
So that's a guaranteed win. Rams. So that's a tough game. But, yeah, do you know what? If they got the Rams next, that season's over. And can I just say, Tyler Bass, I'm impressed that it was a 61-yard field goal. I'm even more impressed that Tyler fucking Bass did it.
Well, he missed the extra point, didn't he?
Being honest, because like Bill Belichick said, some of his field goals look like his 4-iron shot. So you know, it's a truly impressive feat that he did that. But yeah, to answer your Dolphins question, I just think that Tua's injury absolutely killed them, and they just need to look forward to next season now because this one's probably dead and buried.
Max, same thing.
It's a tough one. The next game, obviously, the Rams. I'm not going to give away my prediction yet, but it's definitely a tough game. Monday Night Football as well, so you know, prime time. Everyone's going to be watching them. It's a tough one. Tua's been back for 2 games now, and they've lost the last 2 games by a combined 4 points. Like they keep losing very close games against teams that people expected the Bills to win them, and they kept it tight. So that's impressive. But the Cardinals, I think a lot of people would have backed the Dolphins. I think we all backed the Dolphins in that game. So it's hard to predict. But in terms of where they are currently, they'll really struggle to make a playoff push. And especially when the Jets are doing better than them in that division. And obviously the Bills, it looks like it's over for them, I'll be honest.
Caden?
Yeah, I mean, after seeing how bad the Dolphins were without Tua, it was just a case of how soon they get him back, whether they can actually save something from this season. And he missed quite a few games too many, I'd say. And I just can't see them doing much now. I think, as got said before, they just need to look forward to the next year and try make sure Tua can play a full season, get them back in the playoffs. But it could still happen, but it needs something like a drastic result to get the Dolphins in the playoffs this year, I think.
Yeah, I mean 2-6. You know, you're sort of talking more. Do they try and tank it now rather than do they aim for the playoffs? Because I just think it's too much to overcome. I don't think they've been bad in the games with Tua. As you said, they've only lost by a very little amount of points. Like, they're close games. They're not playing badly. The Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL. There's no shame in losing like that to a team like Buffalo. But because of the injury to Tua, these results where maybe if they had Tua the whole season, probably wouldn't have mattered as much losing a game like Buffalo. Now you've pretty much got to be perfect for the rest of the season to even have a chance at playoffs. I think the season's done, and I think it's just an example of maybe how important Tua actually is to that system, and maybe people underestimated his ability a bit because we've taken him out, and now you see how bad people like even Tyreek Hill look pretty poor, all things considered, when Tua was away. So I think he might be more important than we think.
I've got a question.
Okay.
Is this a player problem? Is this to do with the roster they've got? Because they've got a good roster. They've got like star players in there. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Tua's a good player. People forget that he's a good player. Jalen Ramsey, the list goes on. Or is this like Mike McDaniel being a bit of a fraud? Because that's what I think it is.
It's a Mike McDaniel problem.
It's Mike McDaniel.
You said about how they might tank and like get a good spot in the draft, but I don't know what they need to take. Like, they're not going to take like a skill position, are they? They're not going to take a quarterback. They're not going to take a receiver. So I think it's more Mike McDaniel personally.
I think I agree. It's as well with the draft. Like, it's an awkward one because if they are tanking, who are they exactly tanking for? Because they don't need a quarterback. They don't need a receiver. Yeah. So like you're talking with someone like Will Campbell or someone like that coming off the ball quite early if they end up with him. But as if they don't even need like running backs. They've got 2 really good running backs. They're not going to go for someone like Genti. So it's like, I think Mike McDaniel's the issue in Miami. And I think if you take him out of the situation and give him a different coach, then it could be a different story. But we'll move on to the last game I wanted to talk about. The Carolina Panthers have won a game of football. Bryce Young, I believe it's for the first time in his NFL career, has taken victory formation. Which is quite a damn. I'm not 100% sure if that's true, but I think I heard that on the broadcast.
He's now got 3 wins in his 2-year career. 3 wins.
Well done, Bryce.
Well done, mate.
So the Saints, obviously, we'll get onto some big news out of there after that game, obviously, with the whole Dennis Allen situation. But I think, Caden, with the Panthers, is Bryce Young still their long-term solution, or do you think they're still going to try and move on from him at the end of the season?
I still don't think we've seen enough from Bryce Young in Carolina, especially this season when he was getting dropped for Andy Dalton in this day and age, which is crazy. And he came in and sort of shut him up a bit. I think maybe give him one more year, see if you can get someone in that's going to help make him look like a decent quarterback. Because I'm sure he can be a good quarterback. But at the Panthers, you're going to struggle, obviously. So whether he tries to get a trade elsewhere and build his career from there, or they try build the Panthers roster around him and try make him look better, then we'll have to see about that. But I think maybe one more year is fair for him in Carolina.
Kian?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a 50-50 thing for me. So if you look at his stats from that game, he didn't actually have a bad game at all. We've seen with Caleb Williams this season. The first game the Bears won, he was terrible. So, sometimes the scoreline can tell a different story, but Bryce Young was fine. He hit on 62% of his passes. He did have a pick, but I mean, I'm sure we've all seen the pick. That should really be down as a strip fumble because it's not his fault at all. It's a really good throw. So, yeah, I mean, he's performing sometimes, but, look, NFL analysts have had issues with Bryce Young ever since he was in college. Ever since he was coming into the league, people said, look, there's strong issues with this guy. I think you give him the rest of this season. I'm not so convinced about another year. How many more years can you give the guy? There's players on that team who don't want to keep losing, and Bryce Young is potentially a big part of the reason why they do lose so many games, because I just don't think he's an NFL standard quarterback. But he had a good game on the weekend. We'll see how he does in Germany, but I'm not so sure.
Max?
I think Carolina have a big decision to make on draft day, because it looks like they're going to have a high pick where they could definitely take one of the better quarterbacks in this draft. It's just a case of whether they're going to stick with Bryce Young or not. because if they take a quarterback, then someone might trade for Bryce Young and get him out of there because he's got potential and he's not got a lot to work with in that offense. He's got a decent O-line to stay behind, but he's not got many weapons. So I think there's definitely potential there. And personally, I'd stick with him for one more year, especially because this isn't a very strong QB class. Maybe wait until someone better comes along next year. I'd keep Bryce Young for next year. I think personally, I think he's got something to offer still, and just draft weapons around him, or even in free agency, just get something for him to work with, so he can improve as a player.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in the sense of keep Bryce Young, but not really for similar reasons. I just think there's bigger issues in that Carolina team than Bryce Young. You know, when you can, because they're going to have a high draft pick. They're not going to win many games. They might win. Well, I hope they win up in Germany, but we'll get onto that later. But you know, they're going to end up probably max 3-4 wins this season. So even if they win all them games, they're still going to have a decent draft pick. So I think the way they should go about it is I'd focus on maybe a defensive player or I know lineman, something like that. Just get someone in a long-term solution to one of their bigger issues because, as I said, I don't think Bryce Young is the main issue in Carolina. But we'll move on. So the biggest day for Americans yesterday, NFL trade deadline day. So the last day where teams can make trades to improve their roster outside of free agents, of course. I mean, we had obviously quite a lot of trades went down during the day. We can't talk about all of them, so I've just picked a couple out. I think the biggest one for me, Marshawn Lattimore to the Washington Commanders from the New Orleans Saints. The Commanders get a huge piece considering it was probably their weakest area in their entire team was their secondary defense. Obviously, St. Juice isn't very great. I can't remember. I can't even tell you the other corners, but it's a huge, huge addition to the Commanders. My question really here, and I'll pose to you first, Max. Are the Commanders now true contenders this season, or are they still not at the level where they could be competing for a place in the Super Bowl?
I think they can. My prediction is they'll definitely win your division now with that pickup. I think they're strong enough to do that now. And I think they'll win the first game in the playoffs and then they'll probably crumble to a more experienced or like a more solid opponent. That's my genuine prediction for the Commanders now. I think that's a very good trade for them. And I think the Saints might be showing signs of tanking with losing a player like Marshawn Lattimore. Obviously, now we don't get to see the legendary Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore derby anymore, which is gutting, devastating news.
Yeah.
Well, you know, obviously, like we've touched on, it's a huge, huge move for the Commanders. He's a full-time Pro Bowler for starters. He's been in the league since 2017, full-time Pro Bowler. You can't overlook that sort of thing. It's just a huge piece that they needed. They've done really well to go out and get him. Do I think that they're a contender? A bit like Max said, they'll win your division. Not sure they'll do much else. I think, like you say, one playoff win, pushing two if they get a bit lucky, like the old Hail Mary they did the other day. If they get that sort of luck, then you never know. They could go all the way, but I'm not predicting it. I wouldn't put your money on it.
I think they'll be like the Texans last year, where they got the win over us, and then they just kind of flopped after that.
Caden?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say they're Super Bowl contenders, but they are definitely going to be able to put up a good fight in the playoffs. I think it's pretty much confirmed that they're going to be in the playoffs now, I'd say. And they're showing signs of like moving with good intention now with these big trades. I think come next year, they could be genuine contenders if they select properly in the draft and maybe get a couple more players in free agency to strengthen up a bit. But yeah, Super Bowl, probably not a chance, but it's a good thing to watching them build with Jayden Daniels, how well he's doing, and then actually being a very good side to watch. So, no Super Bowl, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, massive props to the Commanders because they managed to get rid of Jahan Dotson and basically flip him for Marshawn Lattimore, which is insane business.
That's crazy.
If that is, just fair play because that is unbelievable business. And so I hate the Commanders, but you can't discredit their season. They've been unreal. But yeah, I agree with not being near the Super Bowl. Like we've played them twice now, and neither time have I thought this is a team that's going to go really far in the postseason. They've not beat us convincingly either game. It's been really close both times, and when he given up passing touchdowns to Daniel Jones, thank the Lord, he actually threw a passing touchdown at the MetLife. As a fun fact for everyone, I didn't mention it earlier, but Daniel Jones passing touchdowns, the time between his last one before this week was in the time the Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls. That's a fun stat for you. So he's not very good at MetLife, evidently. But yeah, no, they're a good team, but I don't think they're going to go much further than, as you said, sort of one playoff win, maybe. Another sort of big move was Mike Williams. Obviously, with Davante Adams going to the Jets, he has wanted out and he's got his way. He's off to the Steelers for a 5th-round pick. Kian, I mean, obviously the Steelers didn't have the best receiving core. Is that a big move for them now to try and get into that playoff berth?
I think it definitely strengthens it. Pickens and Williams is a very decent level NFL receiving core. And I do think they'll probably make the playoffs. I think it's pretty nailed on. They just sort of keep finding ways to win, digging in shit like field goals and stuff. They're a boring team, the Burnley of the NFL. But you never know. They might get a little bit more flair now. They've got another decent receiver in. But yeah, fair props to Mike Williams. I'm not surprised he wanted to leave after they brought that moaning, bitching, bell-end Davante Adams into the franchise. So yeah, fair play.
Max?
I'm quite scared of the Steelers now. We've not played them this season. We've got to play them twice, and they've brought in another big piece to an offense that is able to do a lot more as the season's gone on. Obviously, they started quite slow offensively, and Justin Fields got on a roll. They've taken him out and put Russell Wilson in. Everyone was like, oh, that's a bit dodgy. He's balling. So now they've just got another weapon for Russ to throw to, and I think we're all fine because it's the Steelers, so they'll bottle in the wild card. But up until then, they're going to be quite scary, and I'm not looking forward to playing them twice.
Jaden?
Yeah, I'm also not looking forward to playing the Steelers because it's just always a scary game, with it being a divisional game as well. But yeah, I think they will still be a very boring team. They'll scrape their wins still. They're not going to be like outrageously good on the offense after making that trade. But yeah, it is because obviously the Browns aren't a competitor for the playoffs in our division, but with your 2 competitors being the Steelers, who always seem to find a way to get a win, and the Ravens, it's quite scary, especially when the Steelers are still building their offense. So I'm also not looking forward to playing the Steelers because it is definitely a game we will lose.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we did lose the game anyway, I'm quite glad we played them when we did because they weren't very good against us, all things considered. So I dread to think what the score would have been had they had someone like Mike Williams in the fold. So yeah, quite glad we've got that one out of the way now. But it's just it's a big move for them. Obviously, the Jets aren't going to be too worried about it. They've got their 3 receivers. They don't really need Mike Williams anymore. I'm sure he does not want to be a wide receiver 3 or 4. He wants to be at least a 2. So I think that's what he probably is behind George Pickens, because I really like George Pickens. I think he's a really good receiver and quite underrated, all things considered, in this league. But yeah, I just think it's a big move. Steelers, as you said, they're already on a good way. This will help them now at least surely get to the playoffs, you'd think, unless they have a bit of a crumble towards the end of the season. But
yeah, but it's fine because they'll bottle in the playoffs. They never do anything in the playoffs.
They'll lose the wild card round probably, but I'd be shocked if they aren't at least in the playoffs for this season now.
Oh, they will be.
Yeah. Max, one for you here. I mean, I think this is probably the biggest move on the board as far as impact it's going to have. Zadarius Smith has moved from the Cleveland Browns to the Detroit Lions. Lions get their Aiden Hutchinson sort of replacement for the rest of the season, and obviously they're going to join up when he eventually comes back from his injury next season. I think this now cements the Lions as probably, well, if they weren't already, Max, the best team in the NFL.
It's a really good short-term move for the Lions. It's perfect for them because I'm pretty sure he's in a contract year. I don't think we were going to re-sign him, to be honest, so I'm not that bothered, but he was playing quite well for us. I think as soon as we lost that game this weekend, I knew he was kind of gone because I'd seen it rumoured over the weekend. But yeah, it's good for them because obviously they get Aiden Hutchinson back next year. But while he's out, they've got a very good replacement in who's not on a long-term deal unless they re-sign him, which I don't think they will. So yeah, it's quite annoying as a Browns fan, but as a Lions enjoyer, I'm quite happy for them. It could have gone to a worse team.
Ken?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more really to add to what Max has just said. It's huge for the Lions because you can't. Well, you can win games without a pass rush, but it's pretty hard. If you've got good pass rushers, then you've got a better chance of winning games. It's as simple as that. So, look, they were the favourite to win it all for me already, and I just think it just pushes them up a tiny bit more. But yeah, I mean, Max said basically all that needs to be said about it. So,
Jaden, same thing.
Yeah, it's just it does just solidify that Lions are definitely going to be in the Super Bowl for me. Like, obviously, they were missing Aiden Hutchinson for a bit, but getting someone in that can fill that sort of gap that he left, that was like the only thing that could be like picked apart from the Lions for me this season. But it's just like, yeah, it's just good that they've found the man, and it's good that he's left Cleveland as well. So yeah, I bet he's really happy about that. And the Lions will be in the Super Bowl. It's been confirmed.
Yeah, I can't really add much more to it. It's another good deal, as you said. Short-term contracts. So that if he doesn't end up working out, they've got to deal with him. If he does, they can re-sign him, but they haven't got to pay for him this season. And I completely forgot to mention it as well with the Lattimore trade. They've actually got him on basically a minimum contract because Washington restructured his contract. Saints restructured his contract before the trade. So they have now literally got one of the best corners in the NFL on a minimum. So that was a great trade for them. But as far
That's
as
one of the downsides to the Saints doing their little contract restructuring that they do every year to get around the cap penalties. If they trade away a player, then they're giving them away for chips.
Yeah, but yeah, Zadarius Smith is a great player. Adds that Lions pass rush now. That's your penalty, isn't it? That's get rid of Aiden Hutchinson's issue. Gets you into the contention. They should be in the Super Bowl. There's not really much competition in the NFC, let's be honest. So yeah, I think it's a great one. And I'll round it off. I just want to bring this up so everyone can laugh how stupid it was. And it's absolutely hilarious. Jonathan Mingo has gone to the Dallas Cowboys for a 4th round pick. I'd like to clarify before I'm trying really hard to say it to a straight face, but I just can't. DeAndre Hopkins went to the Chiefs for a 5th round pick. Mike Williams has gone to the Steelers for a 5th round pick. These are proven receivers in the NFL. Mingo has 500 career yards. 500. And has not been impressive ever in his NFL career. And not only this, Dak Prescott is injured, which we'll get onto later in a minute. So they now have Cooper Rush at quarterback. And their solution was, let's trade for Jonathan Mingo rather than keep the 4th rounder and use it on someone sensible. So I sort of open it up to all of you, but is this probably the worst trade we've seen in a very long time? Because I can't really think of any worse than this.
We were chatting to a guy in the pub called Jeff. Right, big up Jeff. He's a Cowboys fan.
Hello, Jeff.
We love Jeff.
And his main problem, as soon as I mentioned Cowboys to him and I went Jerry Jones, he just flipped. And he was, I hate that guy. And that really explains it for me. That's shocking. And actually, I've got a bit of a topical stat about the Dallas Cowboys. I told Max it earlier, but it's really just one to laugh at them even more. So Donald Trump won an election, lost an election, then won another election, all before the Cowboys were able to get back to the conference championship game.
Oh, dear.
I love laughing at the Cowboys. It's great.
They're so shit.
Yeah.
I said it's quite impressive to be the most embarrassing team in our division when we're quite literally in that division. And we're still more embarrassing than the Giants.
Crazy.
It's actually impressive. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to bring that one up. It's not an important trade. It's not going to affect anything. They're still going to be useless, and they're probably going to be worse now. If that's who they're targeting to throw the ball to, then yeah.
Sorry, I've just remembered. Has any of you seen the clip? Max, you're going to have to put it in, where Mingo catches the ball in like fucking midfield and jumps out of bounds. He shuts out, he just throws his feet out of bounds. He's absolutely useless. I
can't remember that.
I'll send you the clip after.
The point is, he's a bad receiver, and they've just given up a pretty good draft pick to get him with a no quarterback on a season that's pretty much already over. So yeah, just thought I'd bring that one up for a little laugh during the podcast because we love laughing at the Cowboys. It's my favourite hobby. Last couple of bits of news is what I'll say. We'll just sort of talk about it, but Dak Prescott, injured reserve, I believe, or he's heading for injured reserve. hamstring injury, I believe it was. I think he came out the game in the fourth quarter for the Cowboys. Cooper Rush now in at quarterback, as you just said, with Jonathan Mingo to throw the ball to end of the Cowboy season, everyone.
Are we allowed to laugh at this bit as well?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, I think it probably is the end of that season, yeah.
Did CD get injured as well in that game?
He came out of the game, but I don't think it's a long-term thing.
I was going to say, because if he's out as well, they're not winning another
They're
game.
going to have to field Jerry Jones soon.
if CD goes down now before we play them, I genuinely think we might beat them.
I think you'll destroy them. I think you'll beat them anyway.
We probably should if there's no Dak, because I don't
I've
want
got Micah
to. I
Parsons
really don't
coming
want to. I don't want to win another game the rest of the season, but yeah.
I'm not
probably
joining
will.
this tankathon nonsense. We're sneaking into the wild card, the Browns. I'm not having this shit. It's a joke.
Yeah, well, we'll move on from this absolute waffle. Last little bit of news was Dennis Allen, we mentioned it earlier, sacked by the Saints after their loss to Carolina. Probably the sensible decision. Saints, I don't know whether I believe, are they on the lowest record, 2-7, or are they a little bit above?
They've lost 7 in a row. They went 2-0 and then they haven't won a game since.
So yeah, as we predicted, the Derek Carr hype ended very quickly. He's now back to being useless, and he's now cost. I believe. Well, I saw a stat, and it was like Allen's been sacked at both his jobs, where Derek Carr was the quarterback both times when he's been sacked.
Just costing a man a living.
Yeah, he is literally ruining that man's life, and I almost feel bad for him. But yeah, I think there's not much to say about it. Saints are bad. He got sacked. They'll probably just wait off getting anyone important till the end of the season now, because obviously I think the season's over. We all knew that. But
we lost Kian.
We've lost Kian.
Kian's gone.
Right, so we'll move on. That's all the news we have. Well, obviously a lot of news we haven't covered, but we can't cover everything, unfortunately. We'll move on to our Week 10 predictions. So, as Kian, I'm surprised as I mentioned it already. Kian did win Week 9. The first time we've had like a singular winner in a while, I think, because it's normally quite joint because we go pretty similar. But maybe more surprising to events, Caden didn't come last. I think for the first time this entire season, he hasn't come last in a week. Me and Max unfortunately shared that thing because I tried to go rogue and pick the Jags to beat the Eagles, which nearly worked. I really thought it would until Trevor Lawrence again and threw a
Has
pick.
Kian overtaken me now in the overall? I mean, it'll be on the screen now, but I can't
on the
see
screen
that
now. As it stands, I'm on 65, I believe, and then Max and Kian are joint on 62, and Caden's on 59.
That's not that bad.
So second place is now all tied up. Caden's still last. And I'm still first, but unfortunately my bye week's coming next week, so I will probably fall to last.
I forgot about that.
I've got a bye week as well.
So I've got a feeling unless I have an absolute masterclass this week, I'm going to be last by the end of next week. So we'll see about that. But first up, Caden can start us off as it is his team. We have the Baltimore Ravens against the Cincinnati Bengals.
This is like the biggest game of our season so far, because if we beat the Ravens, then the division's very open. But we're not going to beat the Ravens because it's the Ravens and they're too good. So I think for the first time this season, I'm going to back against the Bengals because the Ravens are just too good. They're a Super Bowl team.
Congratulations, Cincinnati, for your win.
We beat that Super Bowl team, by the way.
Yeah, you still got 2 wins all season.
Yeah, go on then, Max. What do you think?
Oh, the Ravens are winning, obviously. I mean, to be fair to the Bengals, it's rare that I do this, but they were quite good against the Ravens last time. It was a close one, but the Ravens won last time, and I think they'll win again. They had a pretty good game last week against a not terrible Broncos team who have been in good form, although they have had some easy games. And I think they'll carry on the run of form, and they'll beat the Bengals, making us better than the Bengals because we beat the Ravens.
Kim?
Yeah, I'm going Ravens as well. I just don't see a world in which a team that let the Raiders score 17 points manages to win a game, especially with 7 of them coming from Desmond Ridder. So, yeah, Ravens for me, even though we beat them at the start of the year, that's all we've got left to cling on to. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. Ravens. Oh, same colour on my arm and all.
Yeah, I'm going to complete the sweep. start it off. I don't see a way where the Bengals win this game. Their offense is really good, but Derrick Henry is an absolute monster, and the Bengals aren't typically great at defending running backs. So I feel like they could have a bit of a field day with that one. He's got more touchdowns than games played, which is a bit silly, really. But yeah, he's just a monster, and I think he's going to tear them to pieces. So I'm going with the Ravens to continue their little push towards the top of the AFC. Next up, as I said, Germany probably receiving punishment for previous actions in years. The Carolina Panthers versus the New York Giants in Munich. Yeah, I can't really think of anything worse than paying to go and see this game, and I'm quite glad I didn't get tickets now with how our season's gone. I'm going with the Panthers. I am. I don't want to win. I hope we don't win. I'd rather lose. It's more beneficial for us. I am praying we lose out the rest of the season and get Cam Ward, because that's all I'm clinging on hope for to save this franchise. Yeah, sorry, Germany, although you probably had it coming. But yeah, you're gonna have to deal with this one, unfortunately, and you're gonna have to watch the Panthers destroy the Giants. Kian, what do you think?
It probably is a deserving punishment if we're going down that route. Just to make it 10 times worse, I've got a horrible feeling this game's going to be decided by a field goal, and it's going to be like a 9-6 game because you're both really bad. I really want to say Panthers because they won me it last week, but they're not winning 2 games in a row. Bryce Young's not capable of that. Giants.
Caden?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Giants as well, because if we're being realistic, you are better than the Panthers. It's not as impressive as it might be. I mean, you are both really bad, but you're a bit better. So, yeah, I think it will be like a 9-6. I don't even know if there'll be a touchdown scored, I'll be honest, but I think you will just take the win from the Panthers in Germany.
Max?
I've got the Panthers too, James. Don't worry, mate. I also realise that you are shy. So I've got the Panthers. Maybe they'll get some momentum from a big win against a divisional rival. It's on neutral ground, so anything could happen. But I agree with Kian that I think it's going to be quite low scoring. It's going to be close and probably settled by a field goal or even less, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think you lot have watched enough of the Giants if you think we actually aren't worse than the Panthers, because I genuinely think it's closer than you realise it is. And they have a better quarterback, and that's saying something because they've got Bryce Young. But we'll move on from my absolute shit show. The Chicago Bears against the New England Patriots. We have an interesting one. The Bears not looking great last week, as much as Kian probably won't want to admit as an honorary Bears fan for the rest of the season. And as the honorary Bears fan, you can start us off, Kian. What do you think?
I'll admit they were shit. But they've had a bit of a trend this year. They've lost 2 games, won 3 games. They did it after they lost their first 2. It's happening again. The Patriots are not a great team. Just looking at the stats now, the boy Rome Odunze got massively involved in that game last week. You know, he went for over 105 yards, which is impressive to say that they only scored 9 points. So, look, they're trying to get everyone involved, whether that's working or not with the 3 receivers they've got. With that receiving group, they shouldn't be sitting at the record they sat at. You know, they should be blowing some teams away. If they can get it right, they'll batter the Patriots, but it could end up being close. I'm going to go Bears, though. Bear down, everyone.
Max?
I've actually just changed my prediction while Kian's been talking, and I've changed it from the Bears to the Patriots because I believe in Drake May, and I think he's going to pull it out of the bag in a close win. The Bears have home field advantage, which is one thing that puts me off a little bit. However, that team is in disarray at the minute, and Eberflus is probably the most on the hot seat coach in the league at the minute. If it's not him, maybe Doug Peterson, but at least the Jags are performing quite well. The Bears are in a bit of a shambles at the minute, and it pains me to say because I'm also a fan of the Bears after mine and Kian's experience at the camp, but I'm going with the Patriots for this one because I want to win the predictions. So I'm using my head, not my heart.
Caden?
I'm going to go for the Bears. I just think it seems really straightforward to me that they're going to get the win. They are the better team. They need to pick up some good form, and Kian needs to stop doing that. But yeah, not really much else from me on this. I think the Bears will have a fairly decent game. I think Caleb Williams will find his form again, and they'll continue to win a couple more after.
Max just turned off his camera by accident, but
It wasn't by accident. Don't worry
I
about
don't
it.
want to know what you were doing.
I wonder why the camera.
It's something that I didn't want to do on camera.
Was it to a special helmet, Max? Come on, you can share it with us.
No, it was something that I don't want to promote to a young impressionable viewer. I'll say that.
This sounds a lot worse than it is.
To a special helmet.
Oh, never mind. Skip past that.
I'm
cutting it out. I edit this. I'm cutting it out.
Yeah, I'm. See, now you said that, Max, I'm tempted to change. I have got the Bears written down. I do really like Drake May. I think that play at the end of the game, the Titans game tickets over was ridiculous. But the fact they've lost to the Titans, it doesn't fill me with much hope they're going to be able to beat the Bears, I'll be honest, because the Bears are significantly better than the Titans. So I'm going to go with the Bears to carry on, to bring back their form from the 2 losses, sort of carry on their season the way they want to. And yeah, I do really like Drake May, but the rest of his team, I can't really say I believe in them as much as I do believe in Drake May. Next up, we have the Colts versus the Bills. I feel like this will be a pretty unanimous decision. I don't think there's much to be said about it. So I'll start it off. The Bills are winning this game, and I don't really think I need to say much more about it. So I'll go to you, Caden.
Yeah, Colts bad, Bills good. Give me the Bills any day of the week.
Kian?
Colts shit, Bills great, Bills.
Max?
The Colts are a bit like the Bears. They're in a bit of a weird spot, and the Bills
I beg your pardon.
Bills are good.
Sorry?
What were even weird about that?
No, you've just compared them to the Bears, and I'm not happy.
Because they're both in a weird spot where they probably should be doing a bit better than they are, but they're not.
Yeah,
Look you.
The Bears have a franchise quarterback on the board. The Colts have one who can't be asked to play.
So do the Colts. Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
They've got Joe Flacco. What more do they need?
Evidently a lot, because they're not winning games with him.
The point is, I'm taking Buffalo. The way I see it, the Colts lost to the Vikings, and the Bills are better than the Vikings. So by that logic, the Bills beat the Colts. There you go.
Logic.
Right. Moving on to this. To be fair, after the result on Monday Night Football, this makes one a bit more interesting. The 49ers versus the Bucks, I believe it is in Tampa. Bucks sort of showing up really when no one really expected them to. Caden, you can start us off. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Bucks looked really good. I mean, obviously it's a hard game, and they'd be very lucky to get a win because you do need a bit of luck when you're playing them. No further comment. But yeah, I think it'll be a very good game to watch. I don't know if I'll see much of it because I assume it's a red zone game, so it'll be flickering between them all. But I will take the 49ers just because on paper they are a better team and they should be winning. But it's going to be a close game, and I think it could be a shock result for the Bucks, but I will take the 49ers.
Kian?
Well, Bosa's in a good mood. So potentially the
Why? Why is that, Kian?
Why is he in a good mood?
I think we all know why. So yeah, I think I'm going to do 49ers. I was sort of flirting between the two. I've got written down Niners maybe, but look, I think they're going to get a bit of a boost. I don't think he'll play, but obviously CMC's window's opened again. They're going to want to push on before he comes back because they do want to be in the playoffs. So I'm going to go Niners. There's just going to be a bit of extra motivation there. I think the Bucks are going to be a little bit deflated after an overtime loss.
Max?
I think this was the hardest one to predict personally. And because I was so on the fence, I just thought, well, I don't like backing against Baker, so I'm not going to. So I've got Tampa Bay for this one. I think they can pull it off. They played well against the Chiefs. They took the Chiefs to overtime, which is probably the closest the team's come to beating the Chiefs this season. I think that game was up for grabs until the Chiefs won the coin toss. You saw Baker look deflated as soon as they won that coin toss because it was like, well, we've lost now. So I've got the Bucks. I think they can pull it off.
I've got a quick question. I've got a quick question about that Bucks game. Should they have gone for 2?
I was literally about to say it. That was my first point. Please, can someone educate these teams that when you play the Chiefs and you have a chance to win it with 2,
Don't
you
give
go
Mahomes the ball
2.
back.
If you give them the ball in overtime, you're risking a 50-50 coin flip.
Yeah.
And if you lose the coin flip, you've lost the game. So either way, you've got a 50% chance of losing at that point. You might as well take the hit and go for 2, because the chances are you probably will convert the 2-pointer and you'll win the game. Do not go to overtime with the Chiefs, because you will lose every single time. And that's why I'm going with the 49ers. The Bucks, they look good, but as I said, decision making is not great. I think they showed up without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, but Shep's been a bit dodgy with injuries, always has been. But if he's out again, Irving's struggling with injury at the minute as well. It's just not a great time really for the Bucks to hit a game like this. It's a harsh schedule having the Chiefs and the Niners back to back. It's not what you want really with all your star players out. So I'm going to go with the 49ers. And as you said, blessed be not only for the 49ers fans, but for my fantasy team, because CMC is finally on his way back to playing again. So I might actually start winning some weeks in fantasy now. Next up, we have the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Denver Broncos. First of all, I'd like to say I know how they missed it, because they chose to miss it, but that false start in the Bucks game with the Chiefs being missed.
We all know why.
Disgraceful officiating. It's awful. It was the most obvious false start I think I've ever seen. It wasn't even like it was about 3 seconds before he snapped the ball. Absolutely ridiculous. And I think, it just shows a lot. I'll start. I might as well. The Chiefs are going to win again. They are. They just are. They're just getting better and better, which is scary because they've been winning when they're bad. Without Pacheco, they've been fine because Hunt's been showing up and, doing well. Kelsey's finally back to his old self. Another 100-yard plus game against the Bucks. Mahomes 3 touchdowns, and apparently he's immune from snapping his Achilles. Just gets back the next play.
Just jogged off.
Yeah, just jog it off. He's absolutely fine. Some Taylor Swift magic going on there. But, I'm going with the Chiefs. Kian, what do you think?
Speaking of Taylor Swift magic, I wish she'd magically fuck off. She's doing my head in. But, don't post that clip or we're going to get absolutely caned.
Don't do
it. No, I'm going Chiefs because every week, it's every single week. If they're not going to win the game themselves, the refs will help them win the game. My only sort of hope is they are giving up points. That Spagnuolo defense is notoriously a good defense, but they are giving points up this year. Look, they give up 20 against us. They give up, 24? Or was it 27 to the Bucks? Might have been more than that.
24.
24. So look, they're not holding teams. Teams are having a go at them and having a good chance, but you've got to be able to stop Mahomes and co. The Broncos defense is a good defense, but they're not that good. Chiefs for me.
Max?
I'm just sick of the Chiefs. We all know I'm sick of the Chiefs. I say it every week, and it's going to continue. I said this to Kian on Monday night after we watched Eli Manning do a headstand, which was my highlight of the game. I think this actually could be the season where they go unbeaten and finish with a perfect record. It really could be. I think if any team stops them, maybe Josh Allen and the Bills. If it's not them, it'll be a random, stupid game. Like, I don't know what the schedule is, but like the Panthers or something. They'll beat them by a field goal.
About to say they've got the Panthers in 2 weeks' time.
Oh God!
I'm backing the Panthers in that one. I'm
Panthers followed by Raiders. They're gonna lose one of them too. That's what's gonna fuck them over.
It'll be the Raiders. I think it'll be the Raiders. Actually, you've done it before. I'm taking the Chiefs in this one. Like Kian said, the Broncos have got a good defense, but I don't think any defense is good enough to stop Patrick Mahomes at this point. And he's just immune to injuries. So I give up. I hate them. They're gonna win.
Good.
Yeah, it will be the Chiefs. And as Max said, I was thinking about this. Every week now, it does feel like they are just getting closer to having that unbeaten season. And whether it's deserved or not is going to be a different story, but it does feel like it is coming and it's going to take something big to stop them from actually getting it. Like Bryce Young So I've got faith in Bryce Young in a couple of weeks, but for now, it will be the Chiefs getting another win, unfortunately.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to bring up the fact, can the NFL please give both teams the ball in overtime? For God's sake, it's actually getting annoying.
Yeah, that rule's weird.
It just needs to be done. It's a simple rule. They've already done it. You are.
There's got to be something you can do.
They did it in the Super Bowl, and it was
This
better.
is what I mean.
Yeah, it works.
It works better because otherwise, you go for a whole game. Let's say now, like, say you were the Chiefs, for example. You go for the whole game, you lose to a last minute touchdown, whatever, to equal out for overtime. You lose the coin toss and you lose the game. It's just unfair.
I mean, I'd have no issue with that. Because
No.
it's the Chiefs. Well, the other way around, it's
it's just stupid. But we'll move on. We've got this is an interesting one for me. I struggled a bit with this one. The Washington Commanders against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Two teams probably overperforming quite considerably their expectations before the season began. Max, let you start this one off.
This is a really tough game to predict, and I've genuinely, my decisions come down based to bias alone, and that's why I've not picked Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously, because I despise them. But I don't know. I feel like if TJ Watt gets his hands on a maybe still not 100% Jayden Daniels, he could put him into early retirement. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna hope the Commanders can pull it off. Obviously, they've got Marshawn Lattimore now. That'll help. It's going to be a close game, and it's come down to bias on me picking the Commanders. That's all I've got on this.
Kian?
Like Max has said, Steelers are a good team, but then so are the Commanders. I've got the Commanders written down. Obviously, the Steelers are on a 3-game win streak, but 2 of them games were us and you, James. So, there's a need to put some perspective in there, with the Jets being the one in the middle as well. So, you need to look at it with a little bit of a switched on mind. I'm going to go Commanders. I've just got a feeling that team has just got so much team spirit around it. It's like the power, like the power of Darnold and friends. This is the power of Jayden Daniels and friends. They just don't go away. And I think they're going to win again. It's just really weird because I've just grown up my entire NFL watching career with them being shit. So them being a good team feels strange. But yeah, Commanders for me.
Caden?
I'm taking the Commanders as well because I don't want the Steelers to win. But bias aside, I just don't think they will. There's only so many field goals you can kick in a season, and we're going to run out eventually. And the Commanders are going to give it to them. I think TJ Watt, as got touched on before, could do a lot of damage to Daniels, especially if he's not at complete full fitness. But I do think the Commanders will beat the Steelers. But it's just maybe a bit biased. But we'll ignore
that. So obviously we're recording this on the Wednesday of this week, but before the Lattimore trade, I had the Steelers written down, and I've changed it to the Commanders purely because the Steelers' biggest strength, really, outside of Najee Harris, which they don't use as much as they should, is throwing the ball. And with Lattimore in that secondary now, the Commanders haven't really got to worry about that secondary much anymore. So I'm going to go with the Commanders to win the game. I just think they can limit that Steelers' offense to not many points. And Daniels is just a freak, and he's going to be able to tear that Steelers defense apart, I think, even though it is a very good defense. I just think he's going to have it in his locker to pull it out and win the game. So I think the Commanders are then be 8-2, which is absolutely insane. If you said that at the start of the year, the Commanders would be 8-2. But I'm going to go with the Commanders to beat the Steelers. Next up, we have the Saints versus the Falcons. So obviously, a Saints team without their head coach now. Falcons on having a decent season. Kian, what do you think?
Falcons. And I'm not sure much else needs to be said. The Saints have just lost to the Panthers. So, Falcons.
Matt?
I don't see the Saints losing streak ending here. They're on a bad streak. I think it's 7 now. They've lost their head coach. They've lost one of the better players on defense. So, the Falcons should piss it, really.
Caden?
Yeah, the Falcons should win, but with them just getting rid of Gaffer, it's just, you never know, they could get a bit of a bounce, could get a cheeky result. But I'm taking the Falcons, but there is a chance that could happen.
Yeah, I don't think much needs to be said. I'm taking the Falcons. I would not be surprised if the Saints lose out the rest of the season, to be honest. I really wouldn't. I don't see who they beat on the rest of their schedule. So I'm going with the Falcons.
They've got us after our bye week. They'll probably
Oh,
beat
no,
us.
man, then. They'll win more
They've got
games.
us as well.
Oh, they'll win 2 more games. Bloody hell. Moving up, next we have the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Minnesota Vikings. Now, it may seem straightforward, but I don't think it necessarily. I think we're probably all going to pick the same thing here, but I don't think it's that straightforward. But Max shaking his head, which makes me feel like you may have gone for the Jags, Max.
Duval, give me the Jags. I've got T-Law. He's been playing well recently. He's coming into his own, and I think the Vikings are struggling a tiny bit. Obviously, they picked up a win. Fair enough. The Colts are shy. I think the Jags are going to sneak it, and maybe it's a bit risky when I shouldn't be taking a risky prediction because me and Keane are neck and neck. But I think I'm actually going to pull through on this one. I think the Jags win.
I mean, you already did that really with the Patriots and stuff like that. And did you take the Bucks as well?
I did take the Bucks.
Yeah, you're going very risky. So it's either going to be your best week ever and you're going to win by a mile, or you're going to be last by quite a distance.
I've got ball knowledge, mate.
I've got the Vikings written down, and I can see why you've gone with the Jags because they've not been that bad. The Eagles game was close, and the Eagles are a better team at the minute than the Vikings. But I think the Vikings are going to find that form again now, and they're going to start picking up more wins. And I think they win this game, to be honest. It'd be close. I really do think it was close, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Jags do end up winning this game, but I'm going to go with the Vikings. Caden, what do you think?
I'm taking the Vikings as well. I know you said it's not very straightforward. In my head, it was, because Trevor Lawrence, he might have had a good game. Did they win? No. Will they beat the Vikings? No. The Vikings are going to continue the form that they had at the start of the year, and they're going to continue to keep getting wins, and they're, according to James, going to the Super Bowl. So,
I would like to say I have retracted that statement multiple times in the recent weeks.
you still said it at some point.
Yeah, I did. I believe in the power of Sam Darnold and friends. Kian, finally on that one.
No, I'm going for the Vikings. the Vikings.
I knew you were going to do that as well.
The Jags, not a great team. Like Caden said, yeah, they had a good game. They still lost. So yeah, Vikings for me.
Moving on. For me, this is a pretty straightforward one. I'm going to assume it was for everyone else, but I'm not sure. The Chargers versus the Titans. Caden, you can start us off.
I think the Titans will win this for some weird reason. I have one game like this every week, and I just have that feeling that they're going to get a win. So I can't really comment further on it because I don't know why, but that's going to be my prediction.
Kian.
There's that American football film, Remember the Titans. I think Caden needs to remember the Titans are fucking shit. Because I can't believe that he's picked them. I can't believe he's picked them that much. Who is it they're playing? The Chargers? My head's gone.
That's my favourite. That's my favourite football focus quote of all time.
Chargers for me. The Chargers are going to batter them. The Titans are a tragic football team.
Oh.
Wow. Max?
Everything that Kian just said, I agree with it. Chargers.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to say the same. I'm also going with the Chargers. And Caden,
I can't put it any better than Kian just did. So I'm not going to
Caden, I think if you were going to go for an edgy prediction to try and come back, this was definitely not the one to make.
It's not an educated. It's an educated guess.
If they win now, I swear to God, yeah. But
and they will.
Next up, an NFC East matchup: the Dallas Cowboys versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles win this game by a lot, and I hate both of them, so I hope they both lose, but they can't. So someone has to win, and it's going to be the Eagles. And we will all continue to laugh at Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. And that's all I'll say. Max, you can go next.
It's quite a shame, to be fair, in it, because this is like a classic NFC East division rival match. The only thing is, only one of the teams is actually competitive this season, and it's Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. No more needs to be said. The Cowboys. If the Cowboys win, I'll give you all a tenner.
I like that is on record, and that cannot be edited out now.
It can, because I edit this.
Well, we will remember that one, don't worry, even if it does get edited out. Kian.
He can't afford to give us all a tenner.
Oh, I can't.
But no, sorry, Jeff. I'm going Eagles. That's all I got to say.
Forgot about Jeff.
Caden?
Yeah, I'm going to go for the Eagles as well. They do look really good at the moment, and there's no way the Cowboys are going to beat them, unfortunately. Sorry, Jeff.
Next up, the Arizona Cardinals against the New York Jets. Kian, you can start us off.
This is probably one of. I think it's quite a tough one personally. I don't know how everyone else felt with it, but I do think it's going to be the Cardinals. I don't think they're a bad team. I think they're playing pretty well. The Jets had a good game. Doesn't mean the Jets are a good team. So yeah, Cardinals for me. I think it'll be close. Don't get me wrong. It's very 50-50 pick. No one's going to be laughing at someone's picking this one. So yeah, Cardinals, but it is a close one.
Caden?
Yeah, as you said, it's a very close game, and I have gone for the Jets on this one. I think they'll carry a bit of momentum after that win. Big win, obviously, against the Texans. And I think Aaron Rodgers can definitely lead them to a win against the Cardinals. The Cardinals aren't amazing, but they're not a bad team. It's quite an evenly matched game, but I can see the Jets getting the upper hand in this one, so that's my pick.
Max?
I don't agree with the thought that this was a close one to predict. I think I remember going through the predictions, seeing this game and going Cardinals, obviously. So I'm picking Arizona. I have no faith in the Jets whatsoever. I think they're poor. They're just really poor.
I'm actually going to go with Caden on this one. I've also gone with the Jets, and I had to make at least sort of rogue pick, but I don't think it is all too rogue because the Jets, as I said, I watched that full game on Thursday. I don't know if any of you actually watched the full game or not. I don't think you did, but
No,
I know you didn't, yeah, but I did, and that was a different Jets team to what it has been in recent weeks. And if they keep that up again, they'll win this game. So I'm going with the Jets. Going into our last two games.
sorry, Max, cut that out. Sorry, I've been doing that.
I saw you do it the first time as well.
Going into our last two games of the week, quite a big one here. The Houston Texans take on the Detroit Lions. I'll start this one off. I'm going with the Lions because CJ Stroud is getting murdered by his own O-line, and it's criminal really because he's a really good quarterback. But the Lions are just the Lions. They've added Zadarius Smith now, and I don't see who stops them. I wouldn't be surprised if they win out the rest of the season, to be honest. They're just a joke of a team. They're very good. And I'm going with the Lions to continue their run of form. Max, you go next.
I backed against the Lions last week. I was really believed that the Packers could do it. I thought Jared Goff was going to flop outside in the rain, and he proved me wrong. So I'm not going against the Lions again this season. Lions. It pains me to go against my boy CJ Stroud, but he's shite, and the Lions are going to win.
Kia?
Yeah, Lions. Nothing else needs to be said. Lions. I say it every week. I've predicted them every week, and it's only been wrong once. So,
Caden?
Yeah, the Lions are the best team in the NFL. There's no way they don't beat the Texans, unfortunately. The Texans are a good side. Lions are just a completely different level to the Texans.
Last game of the week. The LA Rams against the Miami Dolphins. Kian, you can start us off for our last prediction.
Rams. The Dolphins are just a weird team. You know, they've got their star player back. They've got a lot of good players in the team. They just can't seem to find wins. And I think we've put it down. Well, we've put it down already on this podcast. It's a McDaniel problem. And until they get rid of him, then that McDaniel problem's still there. You know, like people say, the first sign of madness is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same result. Well, that's what they're doing. So, Rams.
Max?
I thought this was quite a tough one, but just based off kind of what I said earlier about the Dolphins, I still don't think they've got it in them to find a win at the minute. They really need one. I don't think they're going to find one here against the Rams. Give me the mailman, Matthew Stafford.
I'll go next. And I'm going with the Dolphins on this one. And it's purely, I'm basing it on the Rams last week were bad. And Puka lost his head, completely
He
lost
did.
it, got ejected from the game. And I think if that's how they're going to react in a bit of adversity, then that's not a team that's going to be doing much the rest of the season. And the Dolphins are due a win. As you said, they've been so close in the last couple of games. And I think now is finally the time where they get their win. And I'm going to go the Dolphins to beat the Rams. Caden, to round it off.
Yeah, James, you're wrong. The Rams are winning.
I mean, I take your opinion into account, but you are bottom of the prediction ladder, so I won't.
Yeah, James, you're wrong. The Rams are winning.
You're still below me in the prediction race, so I'm still not going to take it from any of you because I'm still first. So that's our predictions done. We'll see if I'm wrong when it comes. I probably will be. But we'll round it off. Got one question for you all. So obviously with the presidential election being yesterday, after the time recording this, it was obviously got announced this morning in the UK, but last night in America. Who is the best leader, in your opinion, in the NFL? I'll start with you, Max.
Patrick Mahomes, full stop. He is. You give that man the ball, he's going to do something. I hate him. I hope he gets injured in every game, but it's true.
Kian?
He couldn't lead Ducks to water, man.
He could lead the
Are you
Chiefs to
really
8-0.
telling me?
He's
Are
led
you
the
really
Chiefs to
telling me
8-0.
that he's not the biggest leader in that team? The biggest leader in the NFL is, I'm taking a little drum roll, please, from everyone. The biggest leader in the NFL is Andy Reid. He's the reason they're
Are we counting
7-0.
coaches? Are we counting?
I was
Not
going to say,
Kermit
are
the
we
Frog.
counting coaches?
We are now.
We can. Okay.
It's Andy Reid.
Caden?
It's a weird question because obviously if you're going to look at it, if you want a coach, then it's completely different. But based on just players, I think Max is right with Mahomes because you can't name a player that does as much single-handedly for a team as Mahomes at the Chiefs.
I think I probably can for this.
I think what I'm going to say about that is the difference between a leader and being the one who carries your team is what I'm going to say about that. And I think Mahomes carries his team, but I don't think he's a leader of the team. And I think probably if you went to that Chiefs locker room, he isn't the leader in that locker room, I wouldn't say. From a player standpoint, I think I've got two in mind. I've got Max Crosby and I've got Dexter Lawrence. I just think there's two unbelievable players who are leading a pretty average defense to actually look okay. And like Crosby's just a joke. And, that's the kind of guy any team would want, I could just see him being that leader in the locker room and being that guy who makes sure everyone doing their job and what have you. And Dexter Lawrence, he's such a great leader. He's shown it in recent weeks as well. But I think, for me, I'd probably go one of them two. As you said, with Andy Reid, obviously, as a coach, then it's not even questionable. It's definitely Andy Reid. But I'm going with them too.
We're all wrong. It's Myles Garrett. So thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you all next week.
I mean,
Duval.
We'll leave it there. So that is it for this week. Next week we'll go through our results from our predictions. We'll go through all the news that happens throughout the rest of this week, and we will give our predictions for week 11. I won't. Well, I probably will, but they won't count towards our total for the first time. Hopefully, I'll come back to the Giants losing to the Panthers in Germany. Thank you to Kian, Caden, and Max joining me, and we will see you all next week.
Goodbye.
Duval.